everyone, it's Jamie, and welcome back to Serials, the PNN webcast series that chronicles your stories. It's still Arts and Crafts Week here on Serials, and today we're talking to none other than Allie Edwards. Allie works for Creating Keepsakes Magazine, which is a huge scrapbooking magazine, and she's also written many idea books, including her most recent, Life Artist, A Scrapbooker's Journey. Allie's here today to give her 2 cents about the difference between an art and a craft.
If you say the word art to me and then you say the word craft, I see craft more as a verb, like it's an action word. You know, the process of crafting something. You know, like that you take the word craft and you could take the word make, and those would be interchangeable sorts of words. So crafting is the verb, and or craft is the verb, and then art is the end result. And I'm one of those people that actually believes that art, I don't necessarily believe that the definition of art needs to only mean high art, high art in terms of something that's seen in a museum or Picasso or Monet or something like that, but that each one of us, when we create things in our lives, are actually creating art. Whether it's something that you crafted or something that you painted or something that you wrote a story about, that can be art too. I didn't grow up as a child who would have ever used the word creative to identify themselves. I was the kind of kid that was into sports and into school and that sort of thing, way more than ever being like a crafty sort of person. My mom always had a sewing room in our house and always, did lots of things that included her handwriting, whether they were notes or making little decorations inside the house, that sort of thing. So I think I've always had a good role model for creativity, but we were definitely, myself and my siblings were way more into academics and athletics than we ever were into making stuff. But I've always had an interest in visual things and magazines, especially when I was younger. I would cut images from magazines, usually larger ones like full-page ads and things, and put those up all over my walls. So I've always been interested in visual things, but not in the creative way that I think of today.
So Allie's identity as a creative person was more of an evolutionary process. Eventually, she got a degree in graphic design, and then she started scrapbooking when her son, Simon, was born. And now, Allie works in the scrapbooking industry, and she does something creative every day.
This book is more about my philosophy related to scrapbooking and kind of my background thoughts or my emphasis when I'm making projects, whether scrapbooking actual layouts or creating mini books or doing those sorts of things. At some point, I was looking at what I was doing and using that term scrap, saying I'm a scrapbooker to describe myself, and I felt like that term didn't encompass all of the things that I was doing. And so I started playing around with different words and kind of writing about what is it that I really do? What is the heart of what I'm doing? And for me, it came down to the idea of capturing life and creating art. And capturing life can be, through words, through photos, through whatever that means to you, and then making something with it. So that's where the art part came in. So if you take away the capture and the create, you end up with life art. And that to me felt like a more complete definition of what it was that I was doing. And part of that for me is because the scrapbooking that I do or the creating that I do, really, I feel like it encompasses all of my life. Whether it's past, present, future, all those sorts of things. It's so much more than just sitting down to create a layout.
But despite having coined such an awesome term as life artist, that's not how Allie introduces herself professionally. She doesn't walk around telling people, I'm a life artist. She usually starts by telling people that she works for a magazine and then builds upon that. But when it comes down to it, it can be pretty hard to explain to people that there's a whole economic industry devoted to scrapbooking.
When I'm explaining to somebody, what I'm saying to them is that it's this really cool thing that is essentially, people taking their photos and writing the stories of their lives with their photos, and that it's way more than just the products or the extra little fun portions of it, but that it's giving people the opportunity to tell their stories for future generations. And then also the whole element that I like about it, which is empowering women, especially because women tend to be the ones that are scrapbooking the most, but empowering them to tell the stories of their lives and making sure that they're a part of their own story and they're not just documenting their kids' lives, but that they're including themselves in there, because they're just as important as anybody else in this whole process. So depending on who I'm talking to, I usually try to kind of take it in those directions, which gives a more in-depth look at it, I think, than just stickers and glue and what they think of in their head when you first say that term.